So for this afternoon, I would like to start with two quotes from Babaji. Babaji is Baba Haridas, founder of Mama Donna and of a beautiful orphanage and homeschool in India, and many other institutions also in Canada and others in India, wherever. And he was one of my main teachers. And when I discovered Mama Donna, it was like very similar to the school I went in India in the 70s for a whole year in India, which was a school to train yoga teachers to teach yoga in India, in the state of Maharashtra. And so in Mama Donna, they do exactly the same things we were doing in the school, the rituals, the fasting, the different kriyas and cleansings, the devotional yoga, the hatha yoga, the study of the scriptures, everything. It's just fabulous. And what I love of Babaji, Babaji was silent most of his life since he was 17 until he died at 90 some years of age. And so we have his thought by what he wrote, which were usually brief sentences, a bit like in the sutras. The sutras are short sentences that the teachers would pass to the students for them to meditate and keep remembering and reflecting on to get the juice in their own personal experience. And so some of those quotes, I mean, some are in a book called Enlightenment is Not a Highway, which I totally love. And there's another one about fire without fuel, which is the love, the passion for life without the fuel of this delusion of being a separate self. And then this one, which I have often recommended to you, that has all the basic asanas that we also studied in the school there, you know, the 12 or so basic asanas and the different kinds of pranayam, breath control, the basic principles. It even has the ceremony of arati, which is a ceremony of light. If you like to practice with that, you send me an email. I'll send you all the songs in Sanskrit so that you can follow along when you want to follow the ceremony of arati online. Every day it's online through the beautiful Ganeshi temple and Hanumanji temple that's in Mama Donna. So the silver lining of the pandemic is that now we have access to places that before we had to drive several hours to get there, for example, in Mama Donna. But I want to read you two quotes from Babaji that are in the primer. And I want to read them to you because, again, it points to an understanding of yoga that's not just about the asanas. So you probably notice that we are not doing asanas much or any in this workshop. And it's because, according to Babaji, one of the definitions of yoga that he gave that I love is when a person wants to starts longing to be a good person and starts working towards that, it is doing yoga. And of course he's doing yoga because he's going beyond that sense of a separate self and going towards that cessation of the fluctuations of the mind, the cessation of the afflictions of the mind. And eventually through practice, it's going to a state of inner peace and to a realization of the deeper nature that we all have, our real essence, which is truly love, just like a sense of oneness instead of a sense of being separate. So here is one quote from Babaji. He says, "Love everyone, including yourself. This is real sadhana." Sadhana is the practice, is the practice of cultivating a state of peace, a state of union. And so he says the real sadhana is to love yourself and love others. Totally bypasses all the asanas and everything. And then another quote that I like very much, and I think is hopeful and very inspirational for us is this one: whether you set a goal or not, if you practice sadhana regularly, for example, all these different practices that we are learning together, if you practice sadhana regularly, it will result in peace. Its result will be peace. So there is something that happens once you start realizing that there is this 5-to-1 tendency to the negative and that you want to come into balance. So you are going to do a 5-to-1 tendency towards positivity, towards practice. And then once you practice the breathings, some of the movements we are going to be doing today, some of this bringing yourself into space of love, even in small increments, whatever you can do, a little bit every day, eventually transforms your nervous system. It transforms the way you respond. So the difficulties keep arising. Our triggering keeps arising. You don't suddenly become a saint and nothing bothers you. No, you still may get kind of pissed off or a little bit noticing the trigger. No, I don't like this, or I'm afraid of this, or whatever. I'm dissatisfied with this. But soon after the triggering, you are able to come back to balance, to a state of, okay, yes, this is difficult, but let me see how I can work with this, so that moment to moment, present moment to present moment, we are building in the direction that we want to go, instead of blindly going in the other direction. Okay, where do we start? Well, let's start with breath. And you probably, some of you might know this breath, some of you might not, but it's always good to practice together. This is one of the most powerful breaths. I think I have also shared with you that the day when I was leaving the school in India, this is the graduation picture from my school in India. I was in Lonavala in Maharashtra. And after the 9 months that we were studying from early morning to evening, I went and stayed with Swami Digambarji in Rajkot, which is a northern province in a northern city in a northern province in India. Guess who I am there? Okay, so my teacher, after those months of being at the ashram, where he was with some other older men that in India, they have this understanding traditionally that in the first 25 years, you are to be in the world as a student and learner. And then in the next 25 to 50, you are to be as a householder, having a family and work. And then after 50 to 75, if you want to follow the more traditional ways of teaching, you start letting go of your possessions and your responsibilities and dedicate yourself a little bit more to spiritual practices, which I think naturally we do a little bit. You know, as we age, we kind of tend to relinquish some of the responsibilities, perhaps, and explore ways of finding peace. And then from 75 to 100 or whatever, continuing with these 4 stages, if you want to follow with that, go into ashrams or groups of study and of practice of meditation more and more, and preparing yourself for departure for the next stage that comes after we leave this physical body. So when I was leaving India, after having been in that particular ashram with him, he said, if you don't have time for anything else, I want you to do the alternate breathing, and I want you to do Om. Well, he didn't say, I want you. He said, if you don't have time for anything else, do the alternate breathing and Om. And so I want to practice with you today the alternate breathing, which is also called Nadishodhana. Nadis are like the rivers of energy in our body, the same that the Chinese have the meridians, 12 main meridians and other 8 and some other flows of energy. In the Indian system, although it's not very much talked about, they understand that there are 72,000 nadis or rivers of energy. And there are 3 main ones, which is one along the spine, the Sushumna, and then the Ida and Pingala that go from the bottom of the spine, crossing a little bit like the caduceus. And so both in the Chinese system and in the Indian system, there is this understanding that there are rivers of energy. And there is also in both systems the understanding that through our emotional troubles and our physical problems and different kinds of experiences, we tend to block a little bit the flow in those rivers. And so that health is balanced, and that we have to find ways to cleanse the nadis or restore the flowing there. And Nadishodhana is the cleansing of the nadis or the restoring of the flowing there. So let's do a little bit of alternate breathing. So you can be sitting or you can be laying down if that's more comfortable for you. And I'm going to talk just a little bit more about this practice. It is inhaling through the left nostril. We always start through the left. Of course, this is opposite image to what you are being, because I'm here. So we start with the left, inhaling through the left. We then exhale through the right. Then we inhale through the right and exhale through the left. And that's one round. Well, every time we inhale through the left, as air enters the nostrils and stimulates this part of the brain, the opposite side, the flow of air from the left is a cooler flow of air. And the inhaling through the left and exhaling through the right is also called Chandra Vedana, which means the breathing of the moon. And that's this cooling energy, like the coolness of the night under the full moon or any phase of the moon. So moonlight cooling, inhaling through the left. Inhaling through the right is considered a little bit of a slightly warmer energy, and that's Surya Vedana, and that's the energy of the sun coming in. And between the two of them, the cooling, receiving, and the warmth, action, or activity, they balance each other. Well, in China, they do the same. They talk about the yin and the yang, the yin being the receptive, the cooling energy of the earth, and the yang being the active, a little bit more warm energy of the sun. And so there is this understanding that we need to balance the flow of activity and receptivity. And in our culture, often we tend to favor more activity of all kinds. Receptivity, we go more when we are in, for example, practicing mindfulness, sitting, breathing. I would say gardening is also very receptive. Cooking could be also kind of like a meditation. It depends how you practice it, but the idea is to alternate these two flows. Also the giving and the receiving. It has to be balanced. So let's practice the alternate breathing, knowing that as we inhale this cooling energy, there is like we are being bathed like with the energy of the moon, and that energy is being then bathing all these other nadis, all these other rivers of energy through our body, not only our eyes, our face, but also our chest, our heart and lungs and abdomen and the extremities, upper and lower extremities. So that's a cooling energy bathing us all over. And then a little bit of the warmer energy, like the energy of the early sun. So warm, but not super hot, helping to balance. Okay, these two flows. All right. And find a comfortable position. Usually we practice this with this gesture, which is Vishnu Mudra. Mudra is a gesture of the hand. And each of these mudra gestures are also energy practices. We are not going to go into this, but in the Chinese system also, particular fingers correspond to different kinds of energies and functions in our body and in our mind. So in the Vishnu Mudra, we are having the index finger and the middle finger down, so that we can use the thumb and the ring finger to alternate closing one nostril or the other. But for some people, this position of the fingers is not comfortable. You can also have them up here. And recently I found someone who the problem he has is not the position of these two fingers, but the fourth one, the ring finger, is difficult for him to do this. So what we then said is, well, use whatever finger you can, because initially the thing is like this, but of course, this is only if you can do it more or less comfortably. If it is uncomfortable, instead of fighting with it or flagellating yourself or feeling really uncomfortable, adapt so that you can have the main thing, which is the flow of the air, with whatever works for you. And this is for all of the practices. You are the expert of your body and of your energy at this time, and try the practice, and if necessary, adapt in whatever way. One last thing, if you cannot move your hands at all for whatever reason, you could also try, or maybe you are laying down at night and you still would like to do some of these flow, but without moving too much, you can try sitting or laying down, just having the intention of inhaling through one and exhaling through the other. The exhalation is more difficult, but it's possible. And then inhaling through the other and exhaling through this. So of course, this is a little bit more difficult because it's super subtle, but it's an exploration that is worthwhile doing. It's very relaxing because you have to concentrate, not judging, just exploring. Can this be possible? Could I really be so focused, or could it be that the intention and everything makes it the air come in through one and the other? How can that be? Okay, but for now, let's go for the more traditional one. So I invite you to sit, if you can, with the spine straight, the body relaxed. If not, laying down, whatever position is most comfortable for you. And then if this mudra gesture of the hand is okay for you, having the index and middle finger down and the others up, so that we can use the thumb and the ring finger. And if not, adapt to whatever works for you. And before we start, let's use a little thing from a little practice from Qigong, which is using the tip of our index fingers to open the sinus and to open the nostrils, the passages there. Little circles, pushing out and inhaling. If you have problems with the sinus, you can also massage up and down from the points here, 2 points by where the eyebrows are here. This will also help to open a bit the sinus that are here more in the frontal part of the forehead. Okay, good. So now we are ready to do our practice. And also, as we do the practice, I usually like to, let's say I inhale through the left. I like to open a little bit there by pushing with my ring finger. Then close. Now I'm exhaling through the right. I like to open a little bit the right. Keep it open as I inhale through the right. So my thumb is kind of pushing a little bit out. Close, and then use the ring finger to push a little bit to open the left. So that's another possibility, especially if you tend to have your nostrils that somehow kind of stick a little bit to the middle bone there. Okay, now after all this, let's try. Okay, so we are going to close our right nostril and start inhaling through the left. Slowly, gently, and deeply, like sighing. Then we close the left, open the right, exhale through the right. When the time comes to inhale, inhale through the right. Close the right, exhale through the left, open the left. And that's one round. We are going to do 5 of these rounds at your own pace. You could have the other hand at your lap facing up. So as you inhale, for example, through the right, visualize the gentle light of the morning sun, cleansing all your passages, your rivers of energy. And as you exhale, also emanating that warmth. As you inhale through the left, sense this cooling energy of the moonlight. Close the left, exhale through the right, also radiating that cooling energy. And so we go on with inhaling the sunlight, feeling that it bathes us from inside out, cleansing all the passages. Exhaling what needs to be released. Inhaling the clear light of the moon, following the air as it touches new places inside you. Then the energy of the sunlight. Inviting your body to relax. Mind wanders away, gently bring it back to the breathing. Let's have 2 or 3 more of this breath. Invite also a gentle smile in your face. find something in your life that makes you smile. And so as you keep inhaling the moonlight energy and exhaling it, and inhaling the sunlight energy and exhaling it, also invite a gentle smile that perhaps starts in your lips and shines up to your eyes and down to your heart. Then eventually we lower the hands. When you finish the round of finishing exhaling through the left, and for a moment just sense how you feel. Still inviting this smile, noticing the difference it makes when you find something that makes you smile, or you feel that energy moving inside you, how everything seems to soften up. The practice acquires yet one more level of depthness. So loving yourself and loving others, that's real sadhana. That's a practice of yoga. That's a practice of finding and experiencing union and peace and joy. So let's do a few movements. I want to share with you a practice we haven't done before, which is called ball of Qi, or Qi ball. And we are going to put our hands like if we are holding a ball of Qi. And then we are, since we are celebrating also in this season of love, the fact that we are coming into the summer. The organ related to the summer in the traditional Chinese medicine is the heart, and the sensation of warmth, of a gentle fire. So in this practice, we are feeding our heart, and we are also radiating from our heart. And the way it's done is like it's practice is that you are holding, first you hold your hands at the level of your heart for a moment and feel the energy that's radiating from one hand to another hand. In a moment, we are also going to do this practice standing, and at that time, we are going to have the hands further down at the level of the abdomen. And in both cases, the practice is like this. You reach up and forward, holding the ball, and then you bring it towards you. So it's this pouring of your love. Maybe think of someone, bathing that person with your love, and completing the circle, coming up. And so this sending love and smiling to people we love, and then completing the circle, bringing the hands towards you. So it's forward, up, and forward of bathing with love the people we love. In fact, there is a practice in India in the month of June also of married women praying for the well-being of their husbands. And the month of June is also a month of very favored for weddings, almost all everywhere. So this pouring love doesn't need to be the husband. It could be our children, our grandchildren, our pet, our friends, our plants, our cats, our dogs. So pouring love and sensing yourself as a field of love, and maybe also pouring love into a friend or over a friend, bathing a friend that's going through difficulties or sickness. Just 2 or 3 more. So pick your next 2 or 3 to whom you want to send love. So in terms of the energies we were talking just a moment ago, it would be like the warm energy of the sun, the yang energy. And so after that, we for a moment rest our hands here. And now so this is like the experience of generosity, just giving. And now we are going to have the experience of gratitude, receiving. So receiving the love that our friends give us, you, our children, what the moonlight, the sunlight, what your pets, any blessings in your life, opening yourself to receive these blessings with a sense of gratitude and replenishment. The hands are going up and then they are coming towards you and bathing you with these blessings. One or two more. And for a moment, just resting your hands, still holding this ball of chi, of vital energy, of love, of warmth. Knowing yourself in union with others and with nature, with life. And maybe sensing that energy, that electricity, that warmth that's between your hands. Now we're going to rub our hands and we are going to give thanks from our third eye, top of the head, back of the head, back to our heart. this is also a very traditional way of accepting blessings and accepting light. If you sometimes participate in the ceremony of light, the arati, that's in the early mornings and evenings at, for example, Hanuman temple or any other arati ceremony, that evening and morning, they move the light around and you put your hands on top of the light and then you kind of bring it to you, to your forehead, to the top of your head, and then the back, and then back to your heart. And it's very interesting because from the terms of polyvagal theory, which is a theory about emotional health and healthy relationships, one of the breakthroughs in neuroscience in last 10, 15 years, these are also it's the path of the part of the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body, that has to do with communication and with safety. And there are also many studies that show that when we feel safe, as protected by life, with ups and downs, but we trust life, then there is a better chance of healing. And also there is a more natural tendency to communicate, to be in oneness with others. So receive your blessings, open to your blessings, and hold them in your heart. Great. So now we are going to do a few other practices. We are going to experience some other practices from Qigong. Again, all this is very simple. You can integrate any of it or all of it, or some days one thing, some days another things. I hope you will remember the practice of giving love, just pouring love, is going up and forward. That's it. And like if you had a ball of qi between your hands, so you're raising the ball and then showering the love and the light to the people that you send it. And then the one reverse movement is bringing the ball down and up, and then the hands come towards you. And that's when you are opening up to receive your blessings. So we are going to do some of that also standing, and then we are going to do we are going to experience a few other practices also standing. And always also smiling. Smiling is great for your heart. And it's very interesting because the meridian of the heart, the external part of the meridian of the heart starts at the armpit, but it has ramifications that come to the corners of the lips. And so smiling is good for your heart, not only because it's good, it feels good, but also energetically is very important. And also the heart has an deeper internal path that connects down to the small intestine. So the state of your heart, of how you take and radiate things, will affect your digestion. Of course, you know that, right? In practice. So the heart is connected to the small intestine, and it has that deep path also comes up and connects with the eyes. So the smile could start in the lips and could also go to the eyes, and that's super good for your heart and even for your digestion. So let's try to smile with the lips and with the eyes. Another important point for the heart, of course, is the beginning of the heart meridian, which is here, heart 1 and heart 1. The beginning of the external path goes this way. It goes through a point here that's called heart 7, spirit gate, heart 7. Very important also for being able to overcome states of being upset, and very important for against insomnia. So that's heart 7. And then the path of the meridian, heart meridian, ends up at the end of the pinky. So we are going to be moving with the heart 7 and also opening heart 1 in this practice that we are doing, and in some of the other practices too. So let's once again practice a few of these ball of fire, ball of chi, ball of love. Sitting or standing. If we stand with the feet shoulder width apart, body straight and relaxed. Let's raise the toes and lower them 2 or 3 times, bringing our attention to the soles of our feet, feeling the whole connection of the soles with earth. And also moving a little bit forward and backward and one side and the other, like if we were bamboos moving in the wind, and then coming to this standing relaxed position, having the head like a sphere, perfectly balanced on top of the sphere of the chest, and those two on top of the sphere of the abdomen. We are going to practice just a little bit more this one of sensing the energy between our hands, but this time it's like if we are holding the ball in front of the abdomen. We have, in the Chinese medicine tradition, there are 3 main vortexes, one at the level a little bit under the navel, one at the heart, and one at the forehead. Very similar to some of the chakras of the Indian system. So we are going to have our hands here, like holding the ball of energy in front of the lower dantian, lower field of the elixir in the Chinese medicine. Similar a little bit to Manipura chakra in the Indian tradition. And after sensing the energy there between our 2 hands, we are raising the hands and showering someone we love with our love. Imagining that the person is receiving it wherever they are at this moment, receiving this love. You can pick more than one person if you like, in different movements, whatever you feel like, and imagining them being bathed with this loving light. Somehow feeling this whiff of peace, of well-being. Opening to shower them with the love, and they are also feeling this opening as they receive it without knowing. Wow, suddenly I feel so centered, so at peace. Thank you. One or two more. Even if they are in India or Argentina or wherever they are, it just goes beyond physical distances. Okay, and then coming here to the center with small circles and resting the hands there for a moment. And now the reverse movement, receiving the love that's being poured our way in so many ways, in little gestures, in wonderful smiles, so many, all these blessings that are in one way or another in our life, even from the past or from now, and the blessing of life itself. Feeling this sense of gratitude, of joy, for everything in our life that's there if we open ourselves to see. Two or three more blessings, receiving them. And then a few smaller movements right in front of the abdomen, still in the direction of receiving, and then coming to rest. Still holding that ball of chi, of love, of warmth, of healing. Of oneness. Beautiful. Thank you. Hands together, feet together, and centering ourselves. Another practice that's very beautiful as a way of loving ourselves and others, as a way of self-compassion and appreciation of the many ways we are going through life, including the difficult moments, is this practice that's called the Lotus rises above the water, and it comes also from Qigong. And you probably know that the lotus starts in the mud and the fungus, surrounded by dirt and water and not all that much light. And it struggles forming itself and has this pull to come up slowly, and finally, after quite a long journey, it breaks through the surface of the water and it shares its beauty with everyone. So we are going to see that as a mirror image of our own struggles, and it's not a steady line that we just go up and then stay up there and just we come back, and some other times also struggle to get through the light, but just loving ourselves for the whole process and everything that we reconnect, remember, reorient ourselves to answer to that call of coming towards the light. And loving ourselves also while we are struggling, and that light seems still hidden, and how we keep proceeding towards it. So we were saying this morning, if you don't like the darkness, don't curse the light, the darkness, light a candle. So it's the same thing. If we have physical pain or emotional pain, instead of closing up and just thinking this is the way it is and it will always be like this, just let's start with little movements, little practices, little embodiments, embodied empowerments of practicing, so that our body registers the possibility of a different state of mind. And as we practice more, that becomes like traits that are registered in our nervous system. And so they make it a little bit easier to remember and to respond in a different way when we are being triggered by pain or self-doubt or whatever it is, so that we don't keep adding other arrows to our initial arrow that the life gives us because of its own challenges. So, okay, without further ado, let's do a practice experience. The lotus rises above the water. Again, we are going to be standing with the feet shoulder width apart, body straight and relaxed, and finding this rooting in the earth with the feet. By now, you more or less know how to do it. Yes, finding your own balance, your own rootedness, and seeing the head perfectly balanced on top of the chest, both of those spheres on top of the abdomen, everything supported by the hips, body straight and relaxed. And the arms float to the side of the body. And the hands, these heart 7 points, are leading the way in towards the heart. And we bow our head, receiving what life gives us, blessings and challenges. And we breathe, nourishing our heart and lungs, and appreciating our own struggles and our own commitment and remembering of responding the call of moving towards light, towards love, towards self-compassion and loving others. And at some point, then the lotus that has been there trying to come up to the surface, the hands are going to be back to back like this, and the lotus finally emerges at the surface of the water as we raise the head and inhale. And we share the beauty of the lotus of our spirit with everyone and everything around. And again, we bow our head to our challenges and other difficulties that might come. We nourish our heart and lungs. Recognize all the steps that have brought us to this moment today, to this working together. And sensing the call to still keep coming up towards light, towards peace, towards love. We emerge above the water like the lotus, inhaling. We spread our inner peace, our joy towards everything that's around us. So let's experience this happy silent 4 or 5 more times. You work with the processes that you're working through. Embracing what is and nourishing your heart and lungs. And appreciating yourself for this work that you're doing gently. And at some point, when you feel that there can be a possibility of raising above the water, you inhale, bring your hands up a little bit like this, and then share your beauty and smile. And a work in progress. Every time coming up, to be available to ourselves and others, and bowing to what life brings. Nourishing and supporting ourselves by breathing into our lungs and heart. Letting go of the pain and committing to find these little steps that helps us to raise towards the sun, towards the sunlight, bringing our head above the water, sharing our love, the warmth, the beauty. This everything around will be one. 2 or 3 more times. Stay with each stage for as long as you feel, and when you see a ray of hope, inhale, raise your head, with your hands, and feel the opening and the sharing, which is you and is everything around you. Yes, there may be difficulties around, but we still feel the call to the light, and we cultivate what we want to grow in us. Regardless of the circumstances. One last time. The lotus raises above the water and shares its beauty with everything around. And then you turn the palms down and allow them to flow down. Feel this centering. This inner peace, love. Which are the basis for this joy that doesn't depend on external circumstances. That's not limited by external circumstances. It's a joy that's very much related to inner peace. So if you remember, the lotus raises above the water. You can practice it when you are alone. You can practice it in front of the sea. You can practice it in your neighborhood when you go walking, so many times. Just the movements themselves are a reminder and an experience of opening and of opening the chest. And as we were saying, when you come in like this, you are also, with the hands like this, you are also activating the energy in the heart 7 point, which is spirit gate. So consciously working with your spirit. This is another point that sometimes feels very good for massaging. If you want to know the exact location of the point, if you move your little finger, you'll notice that there is like a tendon here. And then you don't press on the tendon, you come a little bit inward. Immediately the indentation that's immediately after the tendon, that's heart 7, spirit point. It's very calming. That's another point that's easy to reach and that you can do even when you're sitting or laying down, or it's really nice. You want to try it just for a moment? Pressing it, breathing like sighing, having a gentle smile like a Buddha smile that starts in your lips and goes up to your eyes and radiates down to your heart.